So you all have come today to figure out how to protect yourself online as a Black femme, right? And like I said, I've been studying this for over a decade, and I have been online chronically since I was probably in the 7th or 6th grade. I remember AOL Instant Messengers where it all began for me. My first username was Bow Wow KTB, and from there it was up, right? I loved the internet and I loved being on the internet. And as I got older, I started to realize that, people that look like me don't get treated fairly on the internet. And it really made me question a lot of like who I was as a person, but also how people viewed Black women and femmes in the digital spaces. So I always like to start with a tweet, and I wanted to start with this tweet that says, "Oh, Twitter was not fun. Oh, Twitter was a war zone, especially for Black girls." And I'm no longer on Twitter, now known as X, because of just the way it's gotten worse. But I don't remember a time where Twitter was safe for Black women, right? Not to say that I did not meet good people on Twitter, not to say that I did not have a good time on Twitter, but I would be lying if I said that Twitter was ever a safe space for Black women, right? And that really goes for most social media websites. These places are sites of harm, right? And they are representative of the sites of harms that we see offline in our day-to-day lives as well. So I do want to also do a trigger warning. I will be talking about violence that impacts Black femmes. I will be showing examples of misogynistic tweets and posts. So please do what you need to do to take care of yourself in this moment. If you need to step away, do so. If you need to leave the webinar altogether, please do what you need to do to take care of yourself. I don't want you to cause yourself any harm. I want to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable in this space. So usually when I start my classes, I like to go over everything that I will be talking about in an overview, and then I do something I like to call a vibe check. So we'll be talking about a little bit of background, talk about my background, how I got to this research, and talking about what the problems are, right? And then we'll be going over some examples. I'll be sharing examples, particularly from Twitter and other applications as well. I will, like I said, do a vibe check first. I will talk about harm reduction and resources, and then I'll open the floor up for Q&A. So if you can take out your phone, and I will also drop the URL in the chat. This is basically asking, how are you showing up today? So I am very interested in knowing, oops, I am moving this on the thing. I'm very interested in knowing how you are showing up today. And you can go to this website right here. It's not letting me copy and paste it. Okay, here we go. There it is. And then that is the code for it. If you cannot do it with the QR code. And I'm going to do it as well. I usually use Padlet, but they said that Canva does the same thing. So we're going to test it out and see how it works. All right. Mine is taking a little bit to load. Sign in. Oh. Can I do it without an account? No. I will not be using this again. Feeling tired, freshly rolled our hair, feeling good vibes. All right. And I'm going to give everybody about another 60 seconds. Feeling all right, excited to hear from me. And if you're unable to jump in and do this, you can also drop how you're feeling in the chat. And if you don't want people to know, but you want them to know anonymously, you can message me privately in the chat. All right. Well, I hope that you all are showing up well today, and I hope that you all can show up present today. I know this is a topic that is really important right now. Um, and I also know that it can be very scary to talk about something like this. So I just really appreciate you all for joining the call today, and wanting to learn how to best protect yourself online. So I want to start off by talking about the historical legacy of violence. Black women have been seen as ungendered flesh and means of consumption and production since enslavement, right? And even before enslavement. When we think about Sarah Bartman and who they call the Venus Hottentot, they used her body as a site of curiosity, as a place of harm. They used her large butt, her large breasts, her genitalia, and they poked and prodded at her as if she was some type of monstrous being, right? So the way that Black women have been treated has always been very negative. It has always been very, very disgusting, and has always been a way to keep us silent, right? So this quote comes from John Hopkins magazine, and the author says, as Venus turned around on the stage, Londoners marveled over her ample bottom and wondered about the size of her other parts hidden from view. For a little extra, you could poke her with your fingers or a stick, notes Clifton Craze, ANS 84 MA, 88 PhD, a professor of history at Emory University. She didn't tell her life story, as did some of the other quote unquote freaks of her day. Instead, her silent displays, complete with animal skins, face paint, and a tight body stocking, fueled European myths about people from Africa. They were primitive, close to nature, exotic, hypersexual. So the Black woman and the Black woman's body has always been looked at as something very sexual and something foreign, right? Something that is not normal. And we've seen that through time as it pertains to enslavement, as it pertains to even the civil rights movement, with how women in the Black Panther Party were treated. We see it in music today, all genres, right? Not just hip hop, but we see it in rock, we see it in country, we see it everywhere. We see it in reality television, how Black women are seen as these monstrous beings and they are treated poorly, right? So I do this work for Leslie and Megan and Nikki and Ho House and Raven and Mary and Tony and me. In 2015, I experienced online harassment from a well-known troll, and I had to make my page private. I ended up deleting my Twitter. And I realized that I was alone in it. I realized that my friends and even my now husband at the time, we were just dating, did not really know how to show up for me in a way that was helpful, right? And it really made me wonder, who's showing up for Black women when they're being harassed online, right? Who was showing up for Leslie Jones when she was being harassed during the Ghostbusters rollout? Who was showing up for Megan Thee Stallion when she was shot by Tory Lanez? Who was showing up for my participants that I interviewed for my dissertation, Nikki, Ho House, Raven, Mary, and Tony, right? And who showed up for me? And it was always no one, right? And a lot of times the intervention would happen at the hands of other Black women, but even then, they had to be careful, because if you clap back at the person that is harassing another Black woman, you may be the next person on the chopping block. So the first problem, and they talk about this in Glitch's digital massage noir report, they say that they found over 9,000 more highly toxic posts about Black women than white women in a data set, which highlights the way that Black women are more likely to be racialized, i.e. referred to in reference of their race or ethnicity, right? And there was another statistics in the digital massage noir report that talked about how Black women experience 40% more online violence than white women, right? 40%. That's a fucking lot, right? So when you think about showing up on social media, even if you are just a spectator, right? Even if you are just someone who lurks and you don't really post anything, you are bound to see instances of massage noir, digital massage noir, and violence towards Black women. The second problem that I noticed in my research was that misogynoir was first coined in 2008 by Dr. Moya Bailey, right? But there still remains a lack of research on digital misogynoir. The dearth in this research makes it very difficult to prove that this is actually happening, right? People already gaslight Black women. They already discredit what they're saying, and they have revisionist history when it comes to what Black women are experiencing in digital spaces. And digital misogynoir, although we know, right, on this call, and maybe your friends and maybe some of your comrades know this, we know that it exists, but there's not enough literature that has proven to outsiders that this is actually happening, right? And there's also not a lot of research that talks about how digital misogynoir has physiological impacts on Black women and non-binary femmes. Some of the people that I interviewed, not only in my dissertation work, but also when I did my master's thesis, and just over the decade of me doing the work, a lot of the Black women and femmes that I talked to talked a lot about these feelings of discomfort, whether it was their chest tightening or feeling nauseous or having headaches or symptoms of panic attacks when they either are experiencing digital misogynoir or witnessing it, right? Even feeling useless, dehumanized, angry, right? Rage, all of these emotions are based upon what they are witnessing and experiencing in these online spaces, right? And I think that it's important to say that the lack of research leaves out Black women and non-binary femmes experiences on the outskirts of academic texts, right? So, like I said, I'm a scholar, I'm a professor, this is what I do research, but I'm also a Black femme, right? So I'm using the internet, right? And I know the academic jargon to talk about violence and what violence can do, but it is very hard for me to explain to others how much of an impact this violence is actually making on people who look like me and you. So these are some examples, right? I collect screenshots and I do not hide people's names. And the reason why I don't hide people's names is because if you were bold enough to say what the fuck you wanted to say online, I'm bold enough to show what the fuck you said in my presentations, in my webinars, in my dissertation, on the Summer Jam screen, right? You wanted to make a fool of yourself, so I'm going to help you, right? So the first one on the left, this young man was talking about his emotions and mental health in the Black community for Black men, and mysteriously it became a Black woman's fault. With the world against us, you would expect our women to understand our struggles, but they're the biggest contributors to them. Am I saying it's Black women's fault we go through this? Not at all, but it does weigh on us heavier when these things come from you versus the world. Why couldn't you just talk about Black men needing mental health services? Why did you have to bring us into it? We ain't got nothing to do with that. We have nothing to do with the fact that you all are not talking about your feelings and emotions. You can very much so go to therapy like we do, right? One at the bottom left was about Megan Thee Stallion. This was back in 2020. Just my opinion, but Megan portraying herself with aggressive masculine undertones, trans misogynoir, is why people reacted with no sympathy. Essentially, we treated her like a man who got shot. If a feminine artist like Jhené Aiko or Beyonce got hit, the energy would be different, right? So we're thinking about colorism here. We're thinking about how, I'm just going to use Jhené Aiko appearance versus Megan's appearance, a very small and petite, soft-spoken person. But for those who listen to Jhené Aiko's music, she's talking about the same shit that Megan Thee Stallion is talking about. It just got flutes and wind chimes behind it, right? There's not that big of a difference in the stuff that they're talking about. She's just singing about it in a way that's very different than what Megan Thee Stallion is talking about, right? And Jhené Aiko very much so drops hood elements in a lot of her music. If you've ever seen the video for Never Call Me, she has the whole hood out there, right? Up at the top, this is from when a young lady named Maya was harassed by Talib Kweli and his fans, and he's probably still harassing her to this day, right? And this person released her address on Instagram. What's crazy is she has her address online, current address. Why do you all have her address? Why are you doxing her? And then someone said hashtag get the strap, which is something that 50 Cent says, we know what type of person he is, but this is inciting violence, right? And what was wild about this is the young man who posted this, his girlfriend saw it and posted about what he had did on the timeline, and they ate her up. This Black woman got nailed to the cross for what her boyfriend did, right? Because she was in association with this man, they were more mad at her than they were mad at him. And then at the bottom, Nell the Goat says, still a Tory Lanez fan, don't give a fuck what he did, right? So they are what? Condoning violence. And these last ones, this one on the left, Black woman, instead of showing your body online all the time, show yourself making a plate of food, cleaning your house, doing kind acts, reading your Bible, uplifting a man, your man if you have one, making someone laugh, taking care of your kids. There's more to us, right? The pick me, right? This idea that if I associate myself and align myself to what I think men want, I will be safe and they will want me. That does not work. They are still going to harm you, right? If someone wants to harm you, they don't care that you're cooking and cleaning for them and fucking them on cue, right? If they want to harm you, they will. And someone responded to her and said, so show my ass next to a plate of pancakes. Got it. I love when people are snappy. Someone else said, why is it always these forever baby mama, big back, degenerate Black women that have the most to say about couples and their relationships? A Black woman clap back. To be a baby mama, there has to be a baby daddy, no? That's what this gentleman is. As he and Kiki are married, I believe that's partially the original post's point. He is hollering about tradition. And they ate him up, right? I saw this early, got the screenshot. I said, they're about to tear him up. Over here to the right, one of my sibs here in Richmond had posted that they had a Twitter Spaces, which is a playground for bigotry and misogynistic chitter chatter. They had one called niggers, not very smart ones, right? Literally tweeting Twitter safety. Hello, they are in there talking about some crazy shit. Why does this exist? Why are they allowed to do this, right? Down here at the bottom, I'm sorry, but Leslie Jones is too much for 8:30 in the morning, right? Like desirability politics. And then this one really made me uncomfortable when I had screenshot this. If only Tory aimed higher, right? This is perpetuating violence and it is condoning violence. And this person has Onika's thong as their name, and clearly they're a barb, right? Why were they following me? I don't know. Clearly I didn't follow them back, but clearly this person is unwell. And these are a lot of the things that we are seeing online on a day-to-day basis. And it is overwhelming. It is disheartening, right? Like I talked about the physiological impacts. People's chests get tight. They get hot. They start having hot flashes. They get nauseous. They get scared, right? They get fearful, because if these people are saying these things online about me, then who am I to not believe that they would do these things in person, right? When we think about how violence materializes as it comes off of the internet, we have to be very, very clear that it feeds into things like Black femicide, right? We can't pretend that the way people talk about Black trans women online does not materialize into actual violence offline, right? We can't pretend that that's not happening because we see it every day. So some of my previous insights that I just think that are important to talk about is that when I did my master's thesis, I did a focus group in DC, and I pulled some themes from the focus group, and that's what you see on the right here in the orange. So one of the themes that I pulled was isolation due to jealousy, which leads to lack of consequences. And I said 6 out of 8 of the participants believe that harassment happened to Black women the most on Twitter because people were jealous and intimidated by them. The other 2 participants believe that because of this, people recklessly disrespected Black women online because there would not be any repercussions. Participants who agreed but had a different outlook response to the questions were, and a participant says, Black women, least protected species. Another one says, Black women in social media are the least protected. Although we tend to have the loudest and most intelligent voices, we are often misinterpreted and viewed as being the bottom of the totem pole. These responses revealed that not only is there an issue of jealousy and isolation, but there is also an issue of protection, which they believe leads to the harassment of Black women online, right? So like the gag is they hate us because they ain't us, and because of that, they treat us like shit, right? That's what theme 1 was all about. Theme 2 discussed about how a lot of the participants felt an array of negative emotions, these physiological impacts when it came to online harassment. From seeing it and even experiencing, they experienced many emotions that ranged from anger to numbness. Emotions and feelings reported by some of the participants were, people feel like their words don't hurt us, anger and sadness. I guess the emotion I feel is anger, disrespect, shame, and vengeful. Numb, far too much going on already in our lives. Why do we have to go through this every day, right? So they are contending with the fact that I can't even enjoy building community online because there is a high chance that I'm going to either be called a Black fat bitch or my friend's going to be called a fat Black bitch. And now I have to figure out how to take care of my friend and myself while I'm dealing with this vicarious trauma of seeing and witnessing digital misogynoir on a consistent basis. The third theme was Twitter policies seemed to be helpful on paper, but lacked a follow-up for helplessness online. And I talk about this in my dissertation research as well, how there's no recourse, right? Like Twitter's policies for preventing harassment to continue, they don't deal with these things directly. They came out with their like Trust and Safety Council in like 2016, and it didn't make things better, right? Nothing got better, right? And instead of them going back to the drawing board to figure out what the fuck was going wrong, they just kept pushing forward with it. And then when Elon Musk took over, it was open. It was just open to do whatever you wanted to do, say whatever you wanted to say. People whose accounts had been suspended for years, right? Milo Yiannopoulos, who had harassed Leslie Jones, Trump, different far-right folks and alt-right trolls whose accounts had been suspended for years. As soon as Elon's name dried on the ink on that paper, when it was signed over to him, they got their pages back. And now we see people in mass moving away from using Twitter as often or just deleting their accounts altogether because of the level of violence they're experiencing. And then theme 4 was accountability and reform. I tried to end the focus group with a conversation about what's next and guiding the women into a discussion about ways that they can be involved in the action. And some of them said that Twitter needs to hire Black women in high positions to create policies and methods to protect people of color. Twitter could be more specific, but they have to be vague so it doesn't look like they're favoring anyone. However, the huge tech company is definitely up its diversity. Oftentimes, the people monitoring the accounts just get rid of the situation by deleting tweets. And if it's a ghost account, then they probably just suspend it for like a day and that's it, right? If Twitter hired more Black women who'd be able to identify these kinds of attacks, these participants think that these policies would be better. And this falls into the Black feminist ethnographic interviews I did for my dissertation, where these themes of digital self-defense and defense is spelled like that based off of a book by a UK online gender-based scholar and activist, Shay Okuwowo, where she talked about this idea of digital self-defense or learning how to defend yourself online and harm reduction tactics, critical consciousness and empowerment, right? So although we're seeing bullshit online every day, how are we empowering each other? How are we thinking deeply about what we're seeing? What is that telling us about the world? And also, what is that telling us about how we engage with the world? And what to give to the world and what not to give to the world, right? And then the consequences of the algorithm is what I was just talking about in reference to the shift of protection, right? Like I said, when Elon got on board, it just got even worse, right? Twitter was, like I said, when I first got on here, Twitter was never fun for Black women. Social media was never a good time for Black women. Black women have always been harassed online, right? There have been certain instances like after Gamergate, when they had the social justice warriors, right? When Mickey Kendall did the solidarity is for white women hashtags, when Feminista Jones did the UO cases, there was an uptick in people treating Black women poorly, but it was always happening, right? It had never stopped. So I wanted to share this And then we're going to breathe together before we jump into the harm reduction, because what I just talked about was a lot. And it can be heavy and it can be disheartening and it can make you feel like Nikki, 39, who I interviewed, felt, who said, I felt like if there is nowhere for me to feel safe, what am I doing here? So if there is nowhere in the world for me to just be safe and for me to just be, what am I doing here? But it was just a general question about what is my purpose supposed to be in life if everywhere I go, I experience harm? And Nikki made it very clear in her interview, along with other Black women, that I stay online in these digital spaces because I've made some of the best friends of my life. But I have to contend with the fact that there is a high chance that I'm going to also experience harm in the same place where I found love, right? So let's take a moment to breathe together. Breathe in and out. We're going to do it one more time. Breathe in and out. I want you all to know that if ain't nobody else gonna protect y'all online, I'm willing to stand in the line of a bullet if I got to. Right? If you feel like you do not have support online, if you've experienced any of the things that I talked about earlier, if you are currently experiencing those things, contact me. I will do everything in my power to try to protect you and to find you resources in a community that will rally behind you. So the next interactive part is, how do you protect yourself online? So you can either scan the QR code, or I will drop the link in the chat. 1 second. Or you can drop it in the chat yourself as well if you do not want to log in. I'm going to do it from my computer this time so it can be quicker. And the code is JTL4. It still made me sign in. I will never use this again. I will always use Padlet. Padlet would never. All right. Now post things in real time, block, take breaks when needed, be mindful of who I follow and engage with. And like I said, if you don't want to log in, you can always just drop what you do in the chat to protect yourself online. Since minimizing my Twitter use, I really post on any platforms. If I do post, I make sure someone can't figure out my schedule or what I'm doing in my life, during my life. And I'll give you all about 60 more seconds. I don't post in real time. The only time I post in real time is when I'm posting a story. And usually I'm posting a story of me talking about something. Or I post it on my close friends. Oh yeah, I definitely mute whenever I go viral immediately. Twitter was awful. I had to make my page private because once you reach a certain follower count, everything goes viral for no reason. Limit who can respond to your shit. I wish I could make my Bluesky private, because if I told y'all how many Bluesky followers I had, it's really disgusting. Because why are y'all following me? Like, what was the reason? And some of them be like these real aggressive, like, y'all, it be these real aggressive white Democrats. I call them aggressive Democrats or aggressive liberals, where they have like hashtag KHive. They be like, blue dot in a red state, hashtag I voted for her. Then they like list everyone they voted for in the past like 3-4 elections. And I'm like, why is that in your bio? and they be like, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Trans Lives Matter. Like, please, the virtue signaling, you're killing me. I love Bluesky, but it's also probably because I'm also a moderator for the Black Sky feed, so I be getting people out of here. All right, let me keep going to keep track of time. So some of the tactics that you can take to protect yourself online, the ones on the left are very like common, right? And then as I go over, they become very specific to certain social media platforms. So obviously blocking, right? I love the block button. I block people all day, every day. If you have like a whole bunch of blue hearts in your bio and then you have something about being a liberal or Democrat, I block you. I don't care who you are. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. If you have like Bernie bro or like I vote, like if you have anything about like your personal politics like listed out, like in 1992 I marched with, absolutely the fuck not. I'm blocking you because I don't care. I don't want to see that shit. Muting, love to mute. I mute words in advance. Okay, I mute when I tell you I have so many mutes. When I was on, I think it was Twitter, they limited how many things I could mute because I think it was like 200. I had hit the 200. They were like, absolutely not, ma'am. There's nothing else you can mute. And I was like, but I bet you I can find something else to mute. I mute everything. I mute stuff that I know people are going to eventually talk about just because I can feel it bubbling up in the zeitgeist. I'm like, this is going to become a topic soon. I can feel it. Let me mute it. Reporting. Yes, we know you can report, but reporting really don't do shit. And that's why I'm having this webinar, because y'all got to know how to take care of yourselves, because the technology and these programs are not really giving a fuck about y'all, right? I care about y'all, right? But I'm only doing community moderation on Bluesky for Black Sky feed, right? I'm the human behind the reports. So when you report something on Black Sky, it comes to me. I go in, I escalate it, and then it goes to Rudy. Rudy looks at it, and then if we decide that it's misogynistic or anti-Black, we yeet it out of the Bluesky feed, and you can never be on Black Sky again in your life, right? But that's not how it is on every social media website. A lot of the moderation is done by computers and algorithms that are inherently biased and racist and transphobic and homophobic, right? So we don't have a lot of humans, Black women and femmes, doing the moderation on the back end. And it's also very heavy work as well, right? I can look at tweets of people saying terrible things about Black women all day because that's what I study, right? I go to my therapy, I have my self-care stuff. I know how to take care of myself, but it's not an easy job to have, right? I go through 600 to 700 reports a week, which means I'm doing 2,400 reports a month. 2,400 reports of people being anti-Black and misogynistic is really not going to sit well for everyone, right? Eventually, some people are going to get burnt out. It's going to become too much. You're going to get tired of seeing the violence, right? Hashtag activism, right? So we think about UK sis, solidarity is for white women, hashtag me too. When we think about say her name, right? These are hashtags that people have used as ways to combat digital misogynoir, right? Making your page private. Love to do it. That was my favorite thing to do on Twitter. I go viral. Guess what? My page is private. Now none of y'all can access me. Good times, right? Selective sharing. And I have that italicized because that came up a lot over the years in my research. This idea of not showing where you're at in real time. I know we want to show people that we are in Tulum with our friends and we got on matching bathing suits, but you can post that Tulum pic when you're back in Minnesota where you actually live, right? You don't need to post in real time where you are. You should never do that. A social media hiatus. This is what a lot of people will tell you to do who don't understand social media. They will say, oh, people are harassing you, just get offline, just sign off. You ain't got to be on there. But the violence still sits with you, right? So taking a social media hiatus should be something that is intentional and something that you have chosen to do for yourself, not as just a reaction to someone harassing you, because you still need to work through what that harassment has done to you emotionally. Changing your avatar. A lot of people that I've talked to, they will make a cartoon their avatar or a man or whatever, and they don't post any pictures of themselves. So you can't go through my media and call me a fat bitch because you don't know if I'm a bitch or if I'm fat, right? because my avatar is Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls. Limited engagement, right? So limiting who they respond to, which I think is really important. A lot of people feel like they have to respond to everything. As a Black woman, you do not have to educate everyone on the internet. I promise you, no one cares about your hot takes on everything. Get a journal, get a blog, write a book, go to the group chat if you have one. Talk to your ancestors at your ancestor altar about it. But you do not have to respond to everyone that tweets to you or posts on Instagram and tags you. You don't have to respond to people in the comments at all if you don't want to, right? Limit your engagement. No rage engagement, right? We know about rage baiting and that people use that as a way to cause chaos on the timelines, right? If you know that somebody's posting something and it's probably rage bait, why are you responding to it? You want to be in an argument. You want to stress yourself out. You want to raise your blood pressure. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Stop. Stop doing that. Because you are not protecting yourself or your peace by arguing with someone who has an American flag and a bald eagle as their abbey. Please. I beg of you. Now, these ones are very specific. So change engagement. I know you can do this on Twitter. You can also do this on Instagram. Like you can restrict people what they see. You can also do it on Bluesky as well, where you can post something and you can make it to where people can't reply to you unless they follow you or you follow them. You can make it to where no one can reply to you. And on Bluesky, you can make it to where no one can quote post you. They can't even quote your shit. They just can scream into the ether. Love it, right? Change the engagement. You can also on Bluesky change the engagement in the middle of a viral post. So if you post something that starts to go viral and you're tired of people responding to it, you can go in and change the engagement and can't anyone else respond. I did that when I announced my job at Black Sky as a moderator. I started having people saying weird shit to me. I was like, I don't have time for this. Woo. And now no one can reply or quote tweet. Leave the conversation. Used to love this on Twitter. People may bring you in as a Black woman, especially if you are a Black woman who's opinionated online. They will tag you in shit, hoping that you're going to jump in and say something instead of just saying the shit themselves. You can leave the conversation. There's an option. You can click it and you are gone. You are no longer in that conversation. You don't have to announce it. It doesn't alert anybody. You just disappear from the conversation. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Filter words and phrases. This is really big on TikTok, right? I get a lot of, there's one particular TikTok of mine where I'm explaining what misogynoir is. And for some reason, every like 3 to 6 months, it goes viral on TikTok. And I really just want it to end. But I don't want to delete it because it's important. People need to know what the word means. So my social media strategist taught me that I can just filter words and phrases. So things like fat, bitch, people talk about me being non-binary. They talk about you got double chins, all types of just dumb shit, right? Shit I already know. I can make it to where you can't even comment that. And you can also make it on your TikTok to where you have to approve the comment before it's on your page. So people, you can post whatever you want to on TikTok. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to post a comment. You can literally go in and decline their comment. It will not be on there. And then proactive blocking. That is my love language. Whenever I make a social media account, there are a list of people that I keep in a Rolodex in my brain that I automatically search for and block them on site. I go directly into Twitter because they usually keep the same names across all profiles. I go in, look for them, and block them because I'm not even going to give them the opportunity to try to harass me again. Right? So these are some of those options. Some of this digital security things, right? This is outside of social media. Digital security is so important. Delete me. I know people hate paying the money, but pay them their little $100 and something a year so they can take your shit off the dark web. Your information is out there, right? Canary, they playing games now because they're trying to make people buy it for teams. So if you work at a job that allows you to, that will pay for your safety, right? So let's say you work at a place where you are interacting with a lot of media, or you post a lot on social media, or you're doing a lot of talks on behalf of the lab or whatever that you work for, you can ask them to get you a Canary account and that will protect your social media and protect your personal information, so your address and stuff is not out there. Encrypted messages, chats, text, video, right? So like Signal, we've all been hearing about Signal, how the government been using the Signal chat and they got caught. But there's Signal. You can use a video one called Jitsi. And this will be in the resource guide that I'll be sending out later this week to everyone that registered. You could use Jitsi, you could use Signal. There's another one called Mattermost that you can use as well. I love all of those. They're great encrypted messages. They keep your shit safe. It's important. Because I do moderation, right? And I'm looking at reports of exactly, they some haters. Getting a VPN, it's very easy and it's free. You can download a VPN. I will make sure that I link the one that my husband put on my computer for me for when I moderate. I sign into my VPN and I use my burner email from Proton Mail. I know we don't fuck with Proton Mail, but that's what I got right now. Bear with me. And I go in and I moderate, and I have a burner account on Bluesky that no one will ever be able to connect with me, because no one would ever know. They would never know. So have a burner email, right? And don't do it through Gmail, right? Also, two-factor authentication and password manager. I know y'all tired of people talking about that, but please get your two-factor authentication and your password manager. It will save your life, because you could change all your passwords at once in some of the password managers if your passwords are compromised. The last two things are organizations that I have engaged with. Team Community is my favorite. It is a group of digital security folks, trust and safety, digital defenders, and you can sign up for their newsletter, and they send different information about different webinars and trainings and things that they have around digital security. There's also another organization called Reframe. They also do courses on digital security as well. And FemTechNet, I don't know if they've gone underground because for some reason their website's not working, but they used to provide a lot of resources and information around digital security and safety for feminists who were on social media, or feminists who were out in the world doing the good work. So these are some examples of digital security that you all can engage with to protect yourselves. And like I said, this stuff will be on a resource guide that I will be sending out to you via email, hopefully by the end of the week. And when I say the end of the week, I mean Sunday. So just bear with me. So now I'm going to open the floor to Q&As. I'm going to stop recording because I want it to be